Thank you, thank you, thank you. Scott, great panel as always. Thank you to our panelists. A great way to kick off our day. Thank you so much. Just watch your step there. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. All right, next up, we're going to take you inside the Statehouse. Right, so I'll introduce Adrienne Robbins. Adrienne, come on up from OHCANN. Let's give Adrienne a round of applause for leading our next panel, and I'll let you introduce your guests. Just the mic and the chair there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Really excited about this upcoming conversation. We have several lawmakers who are probably very familiar faces in this room. First of all, we have Senator Shane Wilkin with us today. And Senator Bill DeMora. Wherever you'd like. I'm going to let you guys pick your own seats here. And we have Representative Jamie Callender. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. We appreciate it. I know several of you, it's quite a long drive down here to Cincinnati.
It was a nice morning.
It was a nice morning, you know.
A little longer for Jamie
some.
than us.
Yeah, he came down last night, though.
It's on the way home from Nashville.
There we go, there we go. Well, I thought we could just kick this off. You all have been around the Statehouse, around Cap Square for quite a while. You've really seen cannabis evolve when it comes to the state here in Ohio. What are your opinions about how it's evolved at the Statehouse when it comes to how lawmakers are feeling about cannabis? I think 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, thoughts have definitely changed.
Well, okay. I think I go back even further. I first was in office in '97 and had a bill along with then Representative Bob Hagan to, back then we didn't have the word medical yet, but just to legalize. I think the first bill might have been just to decriminalize. We couldn't even get a hearing. Nobody on either side was really supportive. The media crucified us for trying to do that. At this point, I think it's accepted. The vote of the people is being acknowledged, if not celebrated, by, I think, all of the legislators. So I think we have now, you talk about emerging industries in our business and how an emerging industry kind of changes as it becomes more sure-footed. And I think we are at that cusp as a sector, as an industry, that we are surpassing the, hey, is this going to stick? Is it going to be around in 5 years? To the, okay, how do we make sure that it is, what do we do with it now that we know it's going to be here? So congratulations as an industry. I think we've crossed the first hump. Unfortunately, that means now the second phase in emerging industry theory is that it becomes very tribal and dog eat dog, and we are entering that phase. So I think where we're moving from now is not will it be legal, can people have it, but rather which subsectors of the industries will be the winners and losers.
Interesting.
So mine is a little different journey. I chaired, when I was in the House with Representative Callender, I chaired the Government Oversight Committee, which had the medical marijuana. And I will be brutally honest and tell you, I thought this is a really cheap way to be able to have weed legally, and I was not for it. What had changed for me is I have a friend of ours back home. Her granddaughter played basketball with my daughters, and she was battling cancer. And one day at a game, I went down and I sat next to her and I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And she's like, I'm doing all right." And I asked her, I said, "Listen, you don't have a chip in the game as far as money on the line of whether you make money or don't. And I need to know, what can you tell me about, I know you have a medical card for marijuana. What can you tell me about it?" And I literally thought she was going to start crying, and she kind of rubbed her shoulders, and she goes, "I have a lot of really severe bone pain." And she goes, about the only thing that really helps me, hers was the capsules of half THC, half CBD. And she goes, that just seems to be the best thing that works for me. But that time she told me, she goes, I really have a hard time finding those. You know, sometimes I can find them, sometimes I can't. So that was really a turning point for me in the medical side of it. And I've traveled all over the state. I've been up around Jamie's area, to grow facilities. I've been to dispensaries. I've been to processors. I've been all over. The other thing I would tell you is when I would meet, I said, I want to try and get this medical marijuana right to where it needs to be, but I'm totally opposed to recreational marijuana. And you guys are well aware I lost that fight. So now my thing is, hey, this is what the people voted for. This is what they want. So my personal view of it is, how do we make it as safe for everybody? And frankly, I think the marijuana side does a really good job. You know, we can trace it from seed to sale. We know exactly where everything went. We know how the processing goes. Everything's tested. Everything's tracked. I personally think Jim Canepa at the Department of Cannabis Control does a really, really, really good job. And now, probably what you guys would like is my focus is on the hemp side of it and the things they're doing to make it synthetic, more powerful. We have no idea where it came from. We have no idea what's in it. It's not tested, it's not regulated, it's nothing, and that now I have a huge problem with. So I'm kind of the opposite of Jamie. I've kind of come around, but you know, here's where we are, and we want to make it as good and as safe as possible.
Well, I'm different. I started as a legislator in January of 2023, and my first committee hearing was then the marijuana bill, which was basically for one person who happens to be from this county, and I had 70-some witnesses were there for 8 or 9 hours, and I didn't know anything about marijuana. I'd never been a legislator. I'd been a political hack for my entire life, and I had to learn about it very quickly, and I quickly learned that, I mean, again, as somebody, as a Democrat, it didn't bother me if people smoked it or not. I mean, I was for whatever people wanted to do. I had friends that had health issues, and they said it worked for them, so that was good enough for me. As somebody, I'll be honest, I've never tried it. I've never tried any marijuana product. I don't think people want to see me on marijuana. I'm a little hyperactive. I know he's got something, he's handing me here, but when the voters, I was the same year in 2023, I took office that the ballot issue was on, and the people voted for it, and my district voted for it overwhelmingly. And from then on, my position was, if the voters wanted it, then that's what we need to do. The fact that it's illegal nationally, I think, is just utter stupidity. I think just from my lifetime, the fact that it's changed so much, it used to be we'd arrest people and put them all in prison for smoking marijuana, and now my biggest part of what I want to see in Senate Bill 56 get changed is the fact that the people that got arrested for crimes that we're now going to make, that's now legal to do because we passed marijuana in Ohio, I want to see the expungement part of it have no charge. Or the bill that the House passed as monetary, you have to, if you want expungement, you have to pay your own money to get that. And my biggest thing for my caucus is make that free because, again, I don't think it's fair. These people were, I think, incarcerated for the wrong reasons back in the day, and it should have never been that way to start with. And so now we finally caught up to the times and made it modern and made it legal. So I want to look at that part of it.
So, Senators, you both brought up issues that are potentially going to be talked about when it comes to Senate Bill 56. That seems to be sucking all the air out of the room. I'm sure a lot of people want to know where we're at with that. Can you just go through for each of you and tell us your overall thoughts on where Senate Bill 56 is now? It's obviously changed quite a bit since it first passed the Senate.
So Senate Bill 56 and Senate Bill 86 were sent over to the House. They were then combined, voted on, and sent back to the Senate. At that time, we can either concur or not concur with the changes that were made in the House. The Senate did not concur. So basically what that means is we're going to sit down with a smaller group and try to come to an agreement of what we think is the best or the most reasonable or whatever it is that we can agree upon. At that point, it would come back to the Senate, and it is either an up or down vote. There's no more changes. It's what the Conference Committee recommends. It's up or down, and then if it passes out of the Senate, it would go back to the House for an up or down vote, and we would move on from there. But there's lots of issues. I would probably, at least in my personal opinion, I think more issues on the hemp side than there is the marijuana side for me. So that's where we are there. But conferees, I believe Bill's been told he's going to be on it. I think I'm going to be on it, but I'm not 100% sure, so I haven't been told that yet.
So yeah, my minority leader has told me I'm going to be on the conference committee. I'll be the Senate Democrat on the conference committee. And as I said, my caucus, we all voted no on the original Senate Bill 56 as a caucus, so it passed the Senate 24-9. We all voted for the hemp bill, which would have put all kind of restrictions on hemp. And I think that passed. I think only Antani voted against it because he voted against everything when that was passing. So I think it passed 32-1. What that came back from the House, as Senator Wilkin said, the hemp part of it is disturbing. I actually put a bill in not knowing what was going on because the House was kind of stalling on both bills. I put a bill in to regulate hemp as an entity itself, thinking everybody was agreeing that we have to have we can't have child labeling on this stuff. We have to know what's in it. We have to regulate it like marijuana. Why are we not regulating it exactly like marijuana is being regulated? So my bill actually was going to do that. Then the governor came out with his, and the governor, let's be honest, the governor hates marijuana, alcohol, and fireworks, okay? The three things I'm an expert on, I think, but he hates all three of those things. And gambling, he hates gambling too. So all the things I'm good at, he hates. But so when he came out with this moratorium is going to end all this stuff, of course, being unconstitutional, the first judge that got a hold of it put a stay on it, saying you can't, since hemp is legally recognized, you can't ban it because it's a legally recognized thing and the state can't override federal law. So now I think the governor might actually do something, because if we include the regulations on hemp that he wants to see, then I think he might actually sign it too. So we'll wait and see. I have not been told when the conference committee is going to meet yet. I just asked my office before I got on the panel today, and they have not gotten any notice about anything. So we're still waiting to see when the conference committee is going to meet to discuss these bills.
Representative Callender, obviously the House had a different say when it came to Senate Bill 56, and you've been an integral part in shaping that legislation.
Well, yes. However, based on some of the media, I'm not sure it's the thing that we wrote down. There's been a lot of misinformation out in the community as to what's contained in that bill. I was dealing with some very irate constituent that said we had made it criminal to have marijuana and outlawed home grow, neither of which are true. So hopefully the folks in this room are not spreading that kind of misinformation. I think there are certain fundamental things that the House holds dear, and one is respecting the will of the voters as to home grow, as to having it accessible, as to having a seed-to-sale process to make sure that when a consumer in Ohio purchases a product, they know what it is, they know where it came from, the facilities have been inspected, we know everything from pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers, additives. You know it's a safe product when you get it. And I think one of the frustrations that a lot of folks in the House have is with the hemp products, we don't know. It's frequently coming from another state or another country. The labs it's processed in are not inspected. And the frustrating part for those that are advocates, we'll say THC advocates, is there's a lot of good hemp producers that do a good job, but how do you differentiate between the two? So I think a lot of the discussion in conference committee, I've been told I will not be on conference committee, by the way. Apparently they don't want an advocate for smokers on the committee. But it's, I think a lot of the discussion's going to deal, as Senator Wilkin said, with the hemp side more so than the cannabis side.
When we discuss intoxicating hemp, you all kind of touched on it, but we're here in a room with people who go through incredibly rigorous regulations. And then you look at intoxicating hemp, and obviously those regulations aren't necessarily there. How do you think we should regulate intoxicating hemp? Because even with Senate Bill 56, it's changed from going through dispensaries to now potentially licensing some of these businesses that sell intoxicating hemp.
So again, with the preface that I've not been told if I'm on or off conference committee yet, these are some of the biggest issues that I have, is that, as I mentioned earlier, I think what you guys have in your dispensaries and are selling is regulated, tracked, traced, tested. We know what it is. We know it doesn't have mold or salmonella or chemicals or heavy metals or anything like that. It's not in there. My biggest problem with the hemp is, I think, and this is me speaking, not speaking for the Senate, it's a bit of a perversion of the federal law to say, oh, well, this plant was 0.3, therefore it qualifies as hemp, and now I can do anything I want to do with it, and we don't know what that is, up to include one of the ways I understand that they intensify the effect is boiling in battery acid. You guys know that? Am I right? No. Is that yes or no? I didn't. Anyway, things like that to try and intensify the synthetic effect, and I've heard that it's just as, if not more so, intoxicating than marijuana and natural grown THC. So those are a lot of the problems that I have with it. And how do I think they should be regulated? Exactly like you guys. That's my goal. But we'll see. I have a dispensary in my district and I know the guys very well, who had a hemp shop pop up right next to him, who just did a registration for a giveaway. And I'm pretty sure you guys can't do this. They said if you win, you can either get $600 or a pound of hemp. I think that's crazy. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, and again, as my bill that I introduced would do, I mean, why is hemp treated better than you? You guys do all the rigorous stuff. You guys have to do the testing, and hemp doesn't have to do that stuff. And if hemp, I will not vote for anything that on the conference committee that does not regulate hemp as vigorous as marijuana gets regulated. That it can't be packaged to children, like you guys can't be packaged to children. It can't look like gummy, nerd candies. This stuff looks like nerd candies. I mean, when I was sitting in committee, probably some of your folks brought this stuff up to us, these hemp products, and it looks like candy. They're definitely going to kids. I also don't want it sold at every gas station and convenience store in the state of Ohio. That's a problem. So, I mean, again, regulating it, making it safe, not having it to kids, those are things that I know that I am going to advocate for. And if that drives the people that sell this stuff at every gas station out, well, then so be it. I got no issues with that.
Just to add one thing, I own a convenience store, and I sell 0 hemp products.
You know, there's two ironies here. One is that one of the selling points of issue 2 was to treat marijuana like alcohol. Now we're hearing the refrain, treat hemp like marijuana, and it's kind of gone full circle. But the real elephant in the room and the real problem with a lot of the discussion we've had here is not a state issue, it's a federal issue. And one of the reasons for the distinction, you all are very well aware of this, is cannabis is a Schedule I drug on the federal level, and hemp is specifically, by name, legal under the Farm Act. And that inconsistency between two plants that are very, very similar leads to the state issues that we have. So I think one of the things that we need to do, both you as advocates, as participants, as investors, whatever role you're in, and us as policymakers, we need to be working with our federal legislators to try to bring those two together, to treat them. I think both of those extremes need to be moved a little bit towards each other, and that would make us as policymakers have a much clearer path on where we need to go and what the parameters are. And it would also give you as, I'm assuming most of you are in the industry, it would give you as industry leaders more direction as to the future. It's hard to build a business when you have no idea what's legal or not legal next year. Something that's legal now may be a felony next year. Something that's a felony now may be legal next year. It's kind of hard to do long-term planning as a business with that regulatory situation. And I don't see it clarifying until we have more clarity on the federal level.
That's a great point. We could spend this whole panel obviously talking about intoxicating hemp, but several other issues that Senate Bill 56 and additional legislation deal with include THC beverages, which are becoming just incredibly popular if you go to any bar or restaurant. Senator Wilkin, you co-sponsored Senate Bill 86. Can you tell us about how you think those should be regulated and maybe where they have a place at in the marketplace in Ohio?
Oh, so you're gonna get me in trouble. There were restrictions on hemp beverages or THC beverages and on-premise and the way you could buy them and how and all this stuff. In this, I personally don't have a big issue with them being on-premise. I don't think you can sell a 50 milligram THC drink. I think that's a little extreme. But if they want to talk about, I think what they passed over, 5 milligrams per serving, which was a 12-ounce can, with 10 milligrams if it was to go. Me personally, and maybe this is why I may not be on conference committee, I don't really have a problem with that. So.
I can tell you that I think the House, having it regulated by liquor control and allowing, as Senator Wilkin said, it's 5 milligrams in a 12-ounce and 10 ounces if you buy it at the store, at a grocery store, take home. I'm fine with that, personally, as long as, again, that it's regulated, that you know what goes in it, and they go through the same rigorous standards. And a lot of the people that make that stuff in Ohio are already doing that, which is why I think, and you're right, Adrienne, it is the fastest growing market share right now are the beverages. And as Senator Wilkin knows, in my floor speech voting for Senate Bill 86, I said the one thing that this bill doesn't do is allow for the hemp beverages to be more readily available, but I still voted for the bill because it got rid of the hemp stuff at every corner grocery store and everything like that. So, especially when you're in the minority like I am, you very rarely get anything you want. And when when the bill comes out that has 95% of the stuff that you agree with, and then, as in this case, the beverages were the 5% I didn't agree with, you still vote for it because, again, you don't get much of what you want and stuff when you're a legislature in minority. So I think the beverages right now is a good place, and I hope we can keep them at they are, and the limits they're at, and that sort of stuff.
Not much to add on that one.
The only other thing I would add is I think the way it's set up right now is I'm not sure that the marijuana producers can do the drinks. And I have told people in my caucus, like, if I know how well you're regulated and tested, so if you want to do the drinks, I don't care, like, it's fine. So that would be something I would advocate for, like, if we're trying to treat them kind of the same, then it's got to go both ways, the old goose and gander.
I'd be fine with that too, personally.
Additionally, Representative Callender, one of the things you really fought for was public consumption, specifically at concert venues. And I know Senator DeMora, we also discussed the issue of public consumption, and that's been a big talking point here. What are your thoughts on maybe where the bill is right now, but also down the road, let's say 5 years down the road, where do you think Ohio ends up when it comes to those issues?
5 years ago, if you'd ask where will we be in 5 years, we are way far ahead of that. So predicting 5 years out in a term-limited, topsy-turvy political world is really difficult. Where I would like to see it is that consumption, as far as gummies or drinks, is really not limited. There's no reason to limit where you do that. It's the smoking that's being limited. And I think if we could have our laws mirror tobacco laws, if a bar owner or a concert venue owner wants to have a smoking area, they're allowed to. If they don't have to. But if they want to, they can have it. And if they want to, there's some now that say no cigars, but they have a smoking area outdoors where they have a ban. They should be able to do the same thing with cannabis products. As far as smelling at this point, with vapes and some of the hybrid strains, there's not a lot of smell difference between cigarettes, cannabis, pipes maybe, tobacco pipes maybe, and cigars, but I think they should be treated the same, and it's up to each venue owner. And it may even be, say, a Blossom or a large outdoor concert venue, down here it's Riverbend, right? They may have, for different concerts, different rules on the smoking area. I having spent a couple of summers going to lots of concerts for a band that now has a different lead guitar player, I can't imagine not smoking at those events. That was just part of the experience. And I think it's kind of duplicitous that we allow cigarette smoking and not cannabis smoking at the discretion of the owner. So I think we'll get there. I think that will be quicker than 5 years. And I think a lot of folks maybe in this room or your customers already do that. So I think it's kind of silly for us to make something criminal that is commonplace.
I agree wholeheartedly. As I told Adrienne earlier, the City of Columbus Police Department's already told me that if you walk down High Street, if you're in a park and you're smoking marijuana, they're not going to do a damn thing to you. But I worry about it in other towns that aren't as forward-thinking as Columbus, that it'll be another excuse like DWB, that they can pull you over if they think you have marijuana and do other stuff. So I agree it should be regulated like smoking. And the fact is, only allowing to smoke in your own personal residence, I think, is ludicrous. And I agree with Representative Callender. If the bar wants to allow to smoke it on the back patio, it should be their ability to let you do it or not do it. And the other thing about having it in a car, that if it's got to be in the back seat or the trunk or it's a crime, I mean, that's kind of ridiculous too. I don't understand. I mean, you can have an unopened bottle of booze in the front seat, but if you have an unopened package of marijuana in the front seat, then you're committing a crime. Or again, I don't understand it. I think it ought to be all level playing field, and we'll see, but I'm not so sure that my colleagues want to go that far.
I know we're about to get the red light here, but we obviously have a lot of the industry leaders in this room, people who are invested here in Ohio and invested in making sure that cannabis works here in Ohio. As lawmakers, what advice could you give them on how to have a good relationship moving forward with the legislature? Because let's be honest, Senate Bill 56 is happening now, but there will be other bills in the future. There's going to be other regulations in the future.
So I would say this not about just your business, but frankly, anything that comes before the Statehouse, is when you have the opportunity to take a win, take your win and keep moving forward. I would be different in these guys that are, I think, different. Like if you're at the park, a kid's park, do I think you should be able to fire one up? I do not. I'm not for that. But as far as any type of legislation that anybody's working on, I always compare it to football. Every play is designed to get a touchdown, but it doesn't always happen. Take what you can get the first down, and keep moving forward. And that's across the board for whatever you might be working on.
I mean, I agree. And I think you have to come and be seen at events. You have to come to the State House and talk to your legislators in person when they're having events in the district. You need to be there because, again, you have to advocate for yourself. With term limits, with everything going on, you have to inform your legislators, whether House or Senate, Democrat or Republican, on what you think. And I know that my constituents come to me, and I represent my constituents. So you need to be active and involved in your community with your legislators and keep them informed and keep them knowledgeable on what's going on and lobby for your cause, because I guarantee you, the other side is going to do it too. So if you don't do it, you're just losing out on the opportunity to stay in touch with your legislator.
I think what they both said is accurate. Make sure before you go in and lobby us or meet with us that you know the public information that's out there. Was looking here, I'm getting some horrible threats for things that are not in Senate Bill 56. So keep up when you come in to talk to us with what is and is not currently in legislation, what amendments are currently being proposed, where it is. And if you don't, ask us. We'd be happy to supply you with links and ways to get educated. I think the community has done a really good job of lobbying the last 18 months since Issue 2 passed, of keeping in front of the legislature. Be respectful. Your voice is being listened to. And the final thing I'll say, because I see we are red lighted, is, and I've said this for the last 2 years, many of you in the room have heard me say it, as an industry matures, it tends to divide among itself. Try to delay that as long as you can. Try to speak. I know there's orphan processors that have specific issues. I know there's hemp folks who have specific issues. There's user advocacy groups. There's home grow suppliers. All of these different sectors that have different priorities within the overarching sector. Try to find common ground amongst yourselves and advocate with one voice as long as is possible. I know at some point there's going to be conflicts between the different subsectors, but the longer you can speak with one voice, the more we can do in the legislature.
Thank you all so much for being here. 3 minutes over with 3 politicians on the stage. I think we did okay.
Gosh. All right, we'll allow it. Let's give it up for our panel, please. Thank you very much. Thank you. What a wonderful panel, you guys. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you again. Thank you, thank you, thank you.